Thank you very much. I have the privilege of introducing our keynote speaker, Mr. Robert Burkhardt. Mr. Burkhardt is the Geospatial Army Intelligence Officer and the Director of the U.S. Army Geospatial Center in Alexandria, Virginia. He was selected as a Senior Executive Service in October of 2001, and as the GIO, he reports to the Army's 3-star Geospatial Governance Board. He's responsible for creating geospatial enterprises in conjunction with the United States Marine Corps, SOCOM, and the NGA. The U.S. Army Geospatial Center coordinates, integrates, and synchronizes geospatial information requirements and standards across the Army. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Robert Burkhardt.
Thank you, Jim. I appreciate the opportunity very much to be here with you today. Talk about something that's near and dear to my heart, at least, and I think from the questions that I heard, near and dear to your hearts as well. I'd like to thank Tom Teresa for putting me into this, Federal News Radio as well, and DLT Solutions, as well as the sponsors, Autodesk, Google, and GeoEye. I think that Federal News Radio has had a history of breaking what's next. And I think that what's next here, at least from my foxhole, is this inflection point that we are about to experience on data, on geospatial data in particular, as it ties in all aspects of what we do. If we're a decision maker, and all of us tend to be, even if we're looking for a Starbucks, tend to be a decision maker. I was asked to do what are the trends, and I was feverishly taking little notes from the panel, great panel, good discussion. But I came up with 4 basic trends, and then I'll elaborate on those as well as some of the discussion that the panel had, and then I'll be open for questions that I usually find are more or better than what I present overall. So the first trend is data, and we heard that from the panel. We have data of all kinds today. We have biometric data, we have business data, we have actions on contact kind of data, we have imagery, we have full motion video, we have the BIM information, we have business information that's flowing in and out and processes. We create more information today at all levels than we have ever done before. We've done it to the point where now we're overwhelmed. I mean, flat overwhelmed. I know that I am in my business piece of this thing, and I'm sure you are as well. This overwhelming also has a good side to it. It is, greater detail. We heard that. It's 3D, 4D. We now have time that is tied into it. It has precision. I grew up as a geodetic surveyor, so you needed some very specialized schooling to understand where you were on the globe, on the Earth. Today, you can pick up your iPhone or you can pick up your BlackBerry and you can know exactly where you are, and you can know it to survey in detail. This is revolutionary. It's going to change many of the surveying business practices, but it's also going to change the way you and I do our normal living. Communities of interest are generating huge amounts of data. The amount of data that you can now hold on your laptop is equivalent to what we could put in supercomputers a number of years ago. This trend continues. Moore's law continues. We don't know where the end is in sight. So handhelds, they are going to create data as well as consume it. Each of the community of interests are doing it fairly independently today. And so one of the key goals that I have and in my job is to tame that beast, and I'll talk about that. So the other piece is that foundational data, and you heard GeoEye talk about the other nations that are collecting from overhead capabilities and doing that at sub-meter type levels. This leads to data as a commodity, particularly the foundation data as a commodity, whether you get it from Google or whether you get it from GeoEye or you get it from NGA, it is a commodity. So it can be priced, it can be scaled, and the prices of those will go down. We have additionally the idea that all of this data, and not all, most of this data at some point or time is collected with a time stamp and a location stamp. Not everything is done that way. Some people don't do it on purpose. And I'm looking for those folks. I'm going to get them. So that's data. And so the biggest trend there is that we need to control the data. The other thing I'd like, just before I go on to the next one, one of the questions to the panel really addressed this issue of data availability. And from our perspective, we really want to separate the data from all the applications. We want to separate it from the software. We want to separate it from the hardware and make it independent. That way you can write apps based upon what the data is, not necessarily on what the proprietary software is that you're using or the hardware solution that you're using. Very key concept into bringing about standards. So the other trend is governance. For years we've had social meetings, we've had cups of coffee and donuts to bring things together. But today, leaders are making changes. They're making changes because they understand the IT business. They're making changes because they understand the problems. They understand this problem of huge amounts of data. They understand that they can make better decisions than what they're making today if they have the availability of that data at a time and at a place. So the recognition of this problem is causing them to say, I need to have some form of governance. Now, it doesn't need to be the stale old, let's work it in a linear process type of governance, but it's governance nonetheless. They also see this solution-based piece of layering. So that layering comes and brings about the patterns, brings about recognition of things that we didn't know before, and that then allows them to make much better decisions. Somebody asked, what's the value proposition? I'll get to that at the end of the piece, but one of them comes right back to that solution set. Coalitions. This governance now, I could govern things within the Army Geospatial Center as the director, but that won't do too much for us. The director of NGA could do it within the confines of the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency. That won't do much for him either, or her, shortly. So, the key is partnerships. So these governance structures are structures within structures. They're partnerships within partnerships. They're governance within governance. Counties, states, local, feds, allies. These are key components of it. NGOs, consortiums, the Open Geospatial Consortium. All of these things are partnerships and teams, realizing that we can't live independently and cannot live alone anymore. So this governance process is not necessarily just coffee and donuts anymore. It has teeth. It has teeth to certify. It has teeth to direct, to give policy, to move money, to have compliance matrices on people that are building systems.